first, we must talk about the big story of the evening, which is, of course, that Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, has been dropped from the shadow ministry. Now, this follows comments she made last week on the ABC about migration, particularly Indian migration, and then you saw over the weekend the coalition basically sucking up to migrant communities and trying to apologise profusely for the comments that Senator Price had made. Now, look, my view is that nothing Senator Price said was particularly wrong. It was perhaps badly worded, but we know the machinations that have gone on within the Liberal Party since then, and she has ultimately had to fall on her sword. She put out a statement today, said, "This evening I spoke with the leader of the Federal Liberal Party and Federal Opposition, Susan Lee, who has asked me to step down from the shadow ministry. I've accepted the leader's decision and I reiterated my regret in not being clearer in my comments on the ABC last Wednesday. Nevertheless, I took the opportunity to express to the leader my disappointment that some colleagues disregarded the key point I was making about the damaging impacts of mass migration, and that some colleagues instead chose to indulge agenda-driven media commentary on this matter." Here was the opposition leader, Susan Lee, this evening.
Senator Jacinta Price has failed a test of high standard that I have set for members of my shadow ministry. Confidence in the leader is a requirement for serving in the shadow ministry. A couple of hours ago, I spoke to the senator and I advised her of my decision.
Now, my view on this has a number of prongs, because I think two things can be true at once. One is that she essentially had no choice but to leave the ministry after she refused today to publicly affirm her support for the leader, Susan Lee. I mean, that's just generally accepted as one of the conditions of being a member of the shadow ministry, or any ministry for that matter. Of course, you saw during the Voice campaign, for instance, that Julian Leeser left the shadow ministry because he didn't agree with the party's position on the Voice, and that was the right and honourable thing to do. If you can't publicly affirm your support for your leader, then you just can't be part of her ministry. But I think this also opens up a great opportunity for Jacinta Nampijinpa Price now, because she can be unleashed. She's on the backbench. She can say what she wants, whatever she feels about the matters of the day. She can't be reined in by the party for doing so. I think the party was wrong to leap on this as hard and fast as they did. They fell for the three-card trick from the left, which is to say, racist, 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 and then you go, oh my God, I can't be called racist, I've got to do something about it. So they fell into what they wanted. They created this great circus, which has benefited the Labor Party and done damage to the Liberal Party. But I think in the long run, Joe, this will actually be a great moment for Jacinta Nampijinpa Price.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Susan Lee, as you said, had absolutely no choice, and it really had nothing to do with the comments she made about the Indian Australians. It had to do with the fact that she couldn't say, I
mean, that did ultimately lead to this.
in the Labor Party, even when you are actively rolling the leader, you still say you support the leader. In that sense, I suspect Jacinta probably wanted to be caught, if you like. She wanted to sort of to push Susan Lee to push her out. She will obviously go to the backbench. She was wasted in the shadow cabinet anyway. She was the shadow minister for defence industries. The stupidest possible portfolio you could give someone like Jacinta Price. Obviously, if there was any thought put into it whatsoever, and I don't know if there was, but it was obviously to shut her up and to give her a portfolio where she couldn't really say anything particularly controversial. I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, she should be talking about, whether we've got, enough submarine software instead of, whether they're Indian migrants. So either she was put there to shut her up, or they just wanted to give her something really, really junior and keep her away. So effectively the same diff. So she's now free. There's no point having someone like Jacinta Price if you are just going to sort of box her in as well. And I think this is what the Libs need to do with her, now that she's actually sitting in their party room, because she was sitting with the Nats before, is what the Nats did with Barnaby Joyce back in the day, where you just say, oh yeah, Barnaby, look, he's obviously, He's a voice for his people and a very proud champion for his community. And we don't always see eye to eye on what he says, but, you know, good luck trying to silence him because he'll keep speaking up. And so you have your cake and eat it too. So you can have your official, more considered, nuanced, whatever, mild, bland, beige, non-offensive party position or leader's position. But then you can also have that kind of firebrand out there who is speaking to your Conservative base and making them feel like they've got a voice inside the party room. And that's very much what country people felt with Barnaby Joyce, that even, you know, that even when he was being sidelined by his colleagues or being told, you know, oh, Barnaby's just sort of out there, but he was still in there and people thought, yeah, he speaks for me. He speaks the way I speak or speaks the things I think. And I know he's in there. And so the Nats were able to still keep getting votes for Barnaby that otherwise might be votes for One Nations or Shooters and Fishers or whatever. So that's the way you deal with an asset like Jacinta Price, not by saying, hey, you've got this massive following because you're outspoken, so we're going to stick you on all these issues. So we're going to stick you in a portfolio which has nothing to do with any of those issues and tell you that you're not allowed to speak your mind.
Yeah, and I think in some ways this isn't really a surprise it's ended like this, because Jacinta came over from the Nationals to initially run as Angus Taylor's deputy in a leadership contest against Susan. So the piece was always tenuous. I think what I would say as well is, and it's clear Jacinta said this in her statement, the way this had then been seized upon by factional adversaries in the federal party, I also think was deeply unhelpful. Seeing people like Alex Hawke come out and make a big hoo-ha. He is the factional numbers man for Susan Lee. He was the factional numbers man for Scott Morrison as well. He's deeply unpopular in the Liberal Party. Jacinta is incredibly popular. So I think there's also another element here of this is not going to play well with the base at all. And Susan already has a big task ahead of her in trying to consolidate the party, but also your members. You cannot forget who are the people that are going to donate to your campaign.